KMC here. I have got a great show for you today, and I am so excited to be able to share my chat with the beautiful Miss Lucie Arnaz Luckinbill. She is Hollywood royalty here in Palm Springs, and her husband Larry Luckinbill live here, and they are just amazing people in the community. And I'm looking forward to just sitting down and chatting with Lucie about career, uh, motherhood, uh, all the good things that she does. And I hope you're going to enjoy it. So everyone just sit back and let's bring Lucie in. There she is. Good morning, Lucie.
Good morning, Keith.
I told you I was up early, but it just these days have just all run together, and I don't know what day is from one to the other. And
True.
how about you?
I put the trash out yesterday. Today's the day. Tonight I'm supposed to put it out. I don't know where we are. I have no idea.
I get that. I have to tell you, I love the hair.
Thank you. I do too.
I
do too.
Awesome.
And I love hearing that. Thank you very much. It was just, you had to just cut your hair yourself. Don't color it anymore.
Yeah.
I love my colorist. He's one of my best friends, but I went, so I just stopped doing that, and I cut it myself.
It's look at that.
I know. And I'm just going to leave it like this. I like it
same.
Yeah, well, there you go. You have no choice. But, why not? I mean, first of all, who am I kidding? I'm turned 69 this past birthday, and I look good. But I like this hair.
It's distinguished.
Thank you.
You look really good at it. And there's there's other people doing the same thing, men and women, I've noticed, and just letting it go. And I think it's attractive. So
it's a statement. It's a statement about, what's important in this world right now ain't my hair.
Well, true. But I'm going to say that for right now, this is what I'm enjoying this morning is Lucie's hair right now. So Lucie, I've been a long time fan of yours. I mean, you were seriously one of my first crushes as a kid. I grew up watching you, and I hated Donny Osmond because he was in the spot on your show that I wanted to be in, and just I would love to have had that. So just from back then, you have just been one of my favorite people to watch, and then your whole career I have followed from the TV days, of course, and have just enjoyed you so much. And this is a pleasure to get a chance to just talk to you and tell you about that.
Thank you.
You have done stage, movies. You are a cabaret star. You've done it all, and all done so well. And so people just love you, of course, and your family heritage, of course. I don't know how you can just walk around and just not be stopped by people all the time. I'm sure you are. Are you though?
No, I'm not. I'm not really. I don't live that life. I mean, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of things over 50 years in my career, but I'm not famous. I didn't have a #1 hit situation comedy, in my adult life.
Yeah.
I haven't been, even if you were a big star on Broadway, very few people in the rest of the world would stop you anywhere, because who knows what's going on Broadway.
Yeah.
When there was Broadway.
Yeah.
And, unless you're doing one of those things, or you're a big movie star, which I never was, and it just wasn't going to be in the cards for me. I just do what I do. I do mostly in-person things, and nobody really writes about concerts and things. You don't get a lot of publicity for that. So people, if they recognize me, it's usually from something like this, where they're local, the local people, and I saw you on the such and such, or they've seen something that I did, and they recognize me, but it's because of my family. And so then they mention my mother, which I think is weird, because they recognize me, but they want to talk about her. It's like, how did you recognize me? Did you see me in something?
Yeah.
But I live a pretty normal life. That's why I live in Palm Springs, first of all, because I like living a normal, everyday, doable kind of existence here. It's beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than these mountains I look at every day. And it's relatively old-fashioned, in the sense that people just get along, and we have normal lives and restaurants, and all the great entertainment comes to us. You know, we live in the best place in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you and Larry, you're Palm Springs royalty. You are
Thank you.
and it feels so nice. Having lived here now for over 7 years,
Yeah.
that it's a blessing to be in this. I just love being in this town. When did
Yeah.
you first discover Palm Springs? Because you were young. You lived here. Am I correct?
Yeah. We, my father wanted to build a house as a getaway from all the pressures of making the I Love Lucy show. And my mother, they just needed to get away. And Palm Springs was, just kind of getting on the map. And my mother had been here in the 30s and the 40s with the movie stars and people at the Racket Club. But my father didn't really know anything about Palm Springs. So she used to drag him down here on weekends, and he just fell in love with it. It's like Cuba without the ocean. There's these beautiful palm trees and mountains, and nature's just spectacular here. And so eventually, when they made a little bit of money in 1954, he didn't buy a plot of land. He actually won one in a poker game on the Thunderbird Country Club golf course. And so they built a house. And gorgeous house, wonderful house, a real beautiful classic mid-century. Now it's not, because it's been changed several times by various people. But anyway, they came here starting then, and I was already like 3 years old. So I would come down then, and my brother was born, and we spent a lot of our winter vacations. We weren't here in the summer for obvious reasons I'm discovering now. But we came here a lot. And then my mother kept the house for years. As a teenager, I was here riding my bike up and down what is now Morningside, which it was dunes and date palms, and it was just such a great thing to be a young teen and have the freedom here that you couldn't have in Los Angeles or Beverly Hills. It was too dangerous, like my mom wouldn't let me go out and ride my bike all around Beverly Hills. Like, are you kidding? You can't do that, But in Palm Springs, you could.
Yeah.
So I loved it here always. And then I started to come here as an adult to work. There were concert venues that I would play. Michael Childers would have his yearly, big production of One Night Only. And then Larry and I had been married a long time, and we'd always lived on the East Coast, except for a couple of short years back in California. And we were kind of looking to change that. Like, it was a lot of long, cold winters, a lot of snow shoveling, no matter how beautiful it is. God, it was beautiful. And we lived there better than anybody could ever live on the East Coast. We had a great property in the country. We had a great apartment in the city at one point. We've done it all, And but we just decided to pick up sticks and do our third act somewhere else, and a little warmer. And I didn't know anybody in Sonoma or, in Santa Fe or whatever. So I thought, I kind of dig Palm Springs. Let's go see if we could maybe make a life there. And we weren't here 10 minutes when we had bought a house.
Really?
Yeah. Wrong house, but we.
Have you since moved?
Yes. Now we're in this one. We bought a house literally across the street and thought it was the best thing ever and the best we could afford. And then one day, while I was renting a house before I moved into the other house, I happened to see this house and the for sale sign, an open house, and I thought, I'm just going to go take a look at what the people in the wealthy side of the valley get. They have a great view, and I could never afford that. And I fell to my knees when I walked in the door, because I saw
yeah,
that.
yeah, yep.
And I couldn't believe it. And it was, I had a nice little backyard across the way, but it wasn't anything like that. And I said, yeah, but this is going to be millions. But it wasn't. It was only a little bit more than the place I was about to sink a bunch of money in to fix up closets and stuff, because it was an estate and they were trying to get rid of it in a hurry. And it was sort of as is, take it or leave it. And we took it. We took it like, I don't care what we have to do to get out of the other place we already bought. We're renting. We bought, we hadn't sold our house in Connecticut, and we ended up buying this. What were we thinking? I'm so glad we did what we did. I've never been happier.
How long have you been there now?
About as long as you said. You've been here 7 years.
I remember that.
I think going into our 8th year. We came here in the Thanksgiving of 13.
Oh, time goes by so quickly here. And I remember when you were moving, and I thought, it's so great that, then you're living right here in the same place I am. We're waking up. I know we commented back and forth on Facebook. Sometimes just the views when you say, I can't believe this is in my own backyard. And that's been great.
It
And
is great.
so you've been working nonstop though. I mean, am I right? Since you've been in Palm Springs too?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't here long enough to unpack all the boxes when I was whisked out of here to do the Pippin national tour, which I swore I would never do another national tour. I'm not going to leave Larry here. Our kids are finally grown out of the house. This is our time.
Yeah.
But it was one of those offers you couldn't refuse. It was just the most amazing part. It wasn't even that big of a part, but to hang upside down on a trapeze in the middle of a dance trapeze act in one part of the show at my age and do this, I couldn't believe I could learn to do that. But I did, and it's a great show. It's just such a wonderful show. Pippin,
Yeah, it was a pleasure. My husband Mark and I and some friends went to see you at the Sigastrom out there, and you were fantastic. The show itself has never been like one of my favorite shows. It's got the best music. It's just kind of a wacky show for me.
It is.
And what they did then with
incarnation with the Cirque du Soleil kind of vision of it was just amazing, and I love being a part of those people, those incredible talents, not just the John Rubinsteins and people like that, but those acrobats. I mean, I forgot, like I'd be up in my dressing room every night before the show, and I'd be getting ready, putting my makeup on, and they'd say, acrobats to the stage please, acrobats to the stage for warm up please, and I would keep doing the snake, and then I'd hear Miss Arnaz to the stage, please. And I go,
oh, that's me.
I'm an acrobat. Like, what? Oh my God. That's great. Yeah.
That had to be a lot of training for you. I mean, just in general, I couldn't imagine.
No, I came there in probably the worst shape I'd ever been in as far as strength. I had just spent months packing up my house, moving here, we were just tired. I wasn't strong. And I was out doing a couple concerts, and then I got this call, and he said, would you come and play, Bertha in the national tour? And I said, geez, Barry Weissler, producer, I'm not sure I can do that right now. He said, well, come on down to the theater and play with us. We'll give you a couple of tests, and they can tell right away if you're flexible enough, strong enough.
Oh.
Apparently they thought I was, and they said, we've taught 4 women how to do this. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. We only had the 3 weeks that everybody has to get the show on the road for the first national company. I didn't get any extra time to be an acrobat. No.
God.
And every day I only got about 15 minutes with the trainers. And then that was it. I had to go be an actor and a singer and learn the songs and the dances and the stuff. And it's not like something you can take home and practice,
Exactly. Where are you going to do that at?
I need the trapeze, and I need that strong guy that holds me in the air.
Larry!
Oh my God. But Gypsy Snyder, the wonderful woman who created all of that magic, she said, Lucie, just trust the process. Just do what they tell you to do. If they say do 3 sit-ups here and do 4 of these, just do them. Just do what they tell you to do. We will get you in shape. Trust the process. And I went, okay. And sure enough, 3 weeks later, we opened in Denver, and I was doing that thing. I couldn't believe it myself.
Now, so did Larry come see you at all those places?
He didn't come to all of them, no. I said, first of all, let's wait till I get really good at it.
Oh.
But he came in pretty quick, not to the first cities, but he came in fairly soon. And then he spent Christmas with me when we were in Washington, D.C. over Christmas. Mm-hmm. So he flew in, and we put up a little silly tree, because I still had to do the show, but we had a little Christmas with a couple of our kids flew in. And then when I got closer to the California area, he came down to the Seagram Center like you did.
Yeah.
So, but that was hard because I was gone almost 7 months on the road,
Yeah. That kind of life, not great right now anymore. I mean, well, they're not doing it now, but I'm saying for you, it's something that you aspire to get more of that kind of stuff. If, when all that comes back.
Well, it would have to be something that stopped my heart as much as Pippin did. If I was to go out on a tour, I can't see myself really doing a tour right now. I've been asked a couple times after Pippin to do something, and I was like, oh God, I just can't. But I was booked with concerts, solid bookings, and some of the first time I've ever had all sold out shows, 9 sold out shows around the country when COVID hit. And So I don't know when that's going to come back. I really don't see myself doing concerts for at least another year. Because even when it softens up, once monsters are gone from the White House and all that, and we get like comfortable again, and we trust that whatever vaccine isn't going to poison us, it's going to take time for people to trust to go back out there. And I think the worst possible place you could be is in a small crowded space with no windows, having people blow a lot of air on you. You're singing, right. Dancing, that's the worst. And for the people on stage, it's worse than for the people in the audience. That's the science now. The more you do this, the more you take in. And I don't see how they can possibly figure out backstages and orchestra pits. And this is how's it going to happen? It's not going to happen for a long time. So I had to make my peace with that and got involved in other things,
Well, and you are always busy. And when we do get to see you on the stage or wherever, it is such a pleasure.
Thank you.
When I first wrote you several years ago, I was so touched by your album of your father's music.
Oh yeah.
I wrote you, and what I thought at the time, and I still do now too, is that I appreciated the just extending the legacy through your voice, honoring your father. I just thought it was amazing. And the show was great too. I did get a chance to see you do that somewhere here, I think.
Here, Latin Roots. I did it twice, actually.
Yeah. It was wonderful. And when I first met you, my first meeting of the great Lucie Arnaz, and I
remember.
We were at a tuxedo store, and you were picking up, you were trying to get these things for
white dinner jackets from my band. Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, but you're Lucie Arnaz.
Do we have people for that? Yeah.
and you said, Larry, it's just Larry and I. We're doing it all. And I was like, oh my God, that's great. And that to me just humbled me to just the beauty of Lucie Arnaz. And I wanted to, I'd like to be your assistant is what I first thought. I would do that anytime right now I'm looking. So.
I think I found myself in that tuxedo shop because they were telling me they were having trouble finding white dinner jackets to rent for the band. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I had to go find out for myself. And sure enough, that lovely shop provided us with all the right jackets. So that's the producer hat. Then I have to be the singer, performer hat,
You were like, I'm just in my car right now. I'm going to load it up when I can. And just like,
yes.
I thought that. I thought, where's the limo that's waiting for Lucie to bring out the tire? I
hate limos.
Well, you know what? I would have put you in my car if I had to and taken you anywhere you wanted to go. Could I talk to you a little bit about Here's Lucie?
Sure.
During this time, I have binge watched several series. Here's Lucie, since I could see the whole thing, I had seen probably all of them growing up, and I like to then just look at it and I study it. And I don't think you could have gotten a better education than working. I think the way you did into the business, and you got to do so many things. You were 15 when that started. Is that correct?
Yep. I was 15 years old, and I didn't want to go on the show because I had a plan. I loved the theater, and I wanted to study and get really good before I went out there, Lucille Ball's daughter, trying to be a theater person, and I better be good if I'm going to come up against all of that criticism, right? So I was in theater in high school, and I wanted to pick a great theater college, like maybe, I don't know, Northwestern, UCLA, something like that. My mom wanted to change her show and have Desi and I play her kids. And I was like, no. I know, yes, I know that I like acting, but I don't want that pressure. But she convinced us that if we would just trust her and go on the show, that it would be great, learning experience. And that I made her promise that if after, the first few reviews or the first year, the word of mouth was, those kids aren't ready. What are they doing on the show? She'll know. What the word on the street is, right? And I said, and if that's true, Mom, just find a way to write me out, please. I beg of you. Just Kim went away to college, you know, something like Desi ended up doing it 2 years into the show.
Right.
And she's okay. I hear what you're saying. I get it. Okay. And I guess that wasn't the case. I mean, we were good enough the first year. And then as you said, I kept learning on the job and learned how to do so many wonderful things, especially musically. I mean, we did like 6, 7, 8 full-on musical shows, right? With all kinds of dancing and singing every year. I said to people, like, we were Glee before there was Glee. We didn't know. We didn't know any better, and spent all kinds of money. I'm sure the music costs were insane, buying all those songs and everything, now that I know more about that stuff. But I learned to tap dance, and I learned to do an authentic hula, and I learned to ride dressage so that I could do that bit with Wayne Newton. And, you know, just great stuff that has served me well later on in my life and prepared me to go out and be on the stage, because we always worked in front of a live audience. We did our show exactly like my mother and dad used to do the I Love Lucy shows. It's the same setup. How we did the show from Monday to the end of the week is exactly the same. And it worked, you know, for her. And it was a very small, intimate group. It wasn't what you see today on television episodes, you know, on television sitcoms that I have been on, whether it's a one-camera show like Desperate Housewives, you know, or it's a sitcom with a multicam with an audience. There are millions of people involved in the production of these shows, and they're always there. There's always network people and publicists and studio people, and there's 12 producers, and so when you sit down at a table to have a reading or something, there's all these other suits sitting around. What are they there for? You know, like, are they going to give you? Yeah, they do. You get a note from the guy, you know, from whatever, that we don't think it's funny if she did. I mean, it's insane. And in the old days, Mom's show and Mom and Dad's show, even, you know, you'd think, because it was the beginning of television, you would think there would be all kinds of people like sitting around the set making sure it all went right, but it wasn't. It was her team, her little team. Her director was there, a couple of writers were there, and her cast was there. And that's it. Script girl.
It worked.
And Tuesday, they brought a couple more people. Wednesday, the cameras showed up. And, you know, if I had a choreographer around maybe one week, because I had to learn a tap number for the following week. But it was a really great, like, summer stock acting group. And it's hard to believe. I know a lot of people find it very hard to believe that we got those shows done in that fashion. But we did. And it was magnificent. And you got a chance to be tight with all those guest stars that now you know how many people we had every week, somebody that you could list, and whether they were a famous person like Elizabeth Taylor or Carol Burnett or, you know, Jackie Gleason, or just some wonderful actor that you'd seen a million times, you know, a Ruth Butty, a Wally Cox. I mean,
people just...
Buddy Rich playing the drums with my brother. Imagine you're a drummer like Desi and a good drummer, and you get a chance to play with Buddy Rich.
Yeah.
Come on. You know,
it's so wonderful. And how were you with all that kind of stuff around you? Because you must have some people that go, oh, I can't wait, or, you know, you get a little crazy around. How was that for you? I mean, or was that just normal life for you?
Well, it's helped me now not really be all that impressed with stars, celebrities. I mean, I don't think I ever was, really. My mother was pretty famous, you know, and it's hard to, but you have your favorites, you know, you have your favorite, like, oh, I'm getting to meet Red Skelton or something. And, but when you see them on the set and they're sitting in the director's chairs, you know, learning their lines, trying to learn their lines like everybody else, getting up, messing up their blocking like everybody else, just trying to get through the week like everybody else. Maybe you go have lunch with them in the cafeteria. It really makes you realize that we're all just the same. You know, we're all the same. We're all just trying to do our job. Once in a while, there'll be somebody, you know, very rarely, but some big name person who would come in and really be a jerk, you know? And then you went, oh, that's interesting. When you behave like that, everything slows down. There's a vibe that's very kind of toxic on the set. We didn't really have any fun this week. And then you kind of learn that's not the way to be. That's not what gets the job done. Don't be like that. You know, be reasonable, be open, make compromises. life's too short not to have a good time with all of this, you know?
I'm sure they're probably, I mean, everyone gets that in their work environment too, to a degree.
Yes, of course. Yes,
So
absolutely. It's universal.
you kind of work through that, I guess.
Yeah. But so it was a good, it was, to answer more to your point, to answer your question, it was great learning for me on a lot of levels. And I mean, it was a real education, not just a showbiz education. It was a real growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you, some of the things that pop into my mind are just like, oh my God, moments. The Ginger Rogers dance, which they now put over with the music to.
It's now gone completely viral crazy. Playing, everybody sends it to me every day. And I have to tell you, there's a great story that goes with that. That is one of the few it's the only show I can think of that we shot without an audience. We were getting ready to do our normal week where we would come in on Monday and read the script, and then we get up and start to block. And by Tuesday, we would block some more and do a run through. Maybe by Wednesday, then we have dress rehearsal. We did the show on Thursday night. This was like, I may be wrong. It was either Monday afternoon, probably was Monday afternoon, or Tuesday morning. And we got word that there was going to be an actors' strike.
Oh.
I mean, immediately. And that meant that we were not going to be able to finish the rest of the week. We're going to have to just stop right where we were and go home, and nobody can finish. And my mother went, no, we're not. We have the script. Let's just do it. So all the cameras were called in that day, as opposed to 3 days later. We had no rehearsal. And that's the show with Ginger Rogers with a big old dance number and the whole thing. We hadn't even really staged it. So between Ginger and I, I had just come off of some craft music hall show where I did like a Charleston and a thing. And I said, well, maybe Ginger, we could do this little thing to the music. And she goes, yeah. And then we have this little thing. And we invented it. We went to hair, makeup, made up here's what we'll wear. And we shot that without an audience, with barely a rehearsal. And it was, you'd never know by watching it. The rest of the show was the same way. There was no audience. Probably the only time we ever used a track, like a laugh track or an applause track, because there wasn't anybody there. Crazy.
What was it like? Tell me a little bit about some of these people I'm going to mention that you've worked with and you've known your life. Gail Gordon.
There are two people. There are two people on the planet, I think. I'm sure there are more. Two people that I knew who no one has ever said a bad word about, and who I've never heard say a bad word about anybody else, who are the easiest people to get along with and some of the most talented. One was Jimmy Durante, that I grew up with, who lived next door to us during the summer at Del Mar, and Gail Gordon, who played this blustery, irritable guy, and who in real life was just the most wonderful, kind, witty, as you can't even believe how funny he was, with my mother especially, but always in the kindest possible, slip it under the thing way. He was the core of that show for us, and talented. You could give him anything. And he always did it with the most believable, they asked the most absurd things of him to keep on being that way, and to get wet as many times as he did. Somebody was always pouring water down his pants, remember?
Yeah.
And I just adored him. He was a friend of mine till the day he died. I interviewed him for the documentary. Just a magnificent man. And he ended up spending the majority of his later life in Borrego Springs, not far from here.
Oh, I didn't know.
And we were desert rats, all of us. So
he was always doing cartwheels. I was like, this man.
Cartwheels, I know, right?
They would write that in, and I'm like, he's doing them. There, he's still doing them.
Well, yeah, my mother always said, anybody have any, skills I don't know about? Because the writers are always looking to put something in that's different, that, Desi can play the drums, Lucie can do a little dancing, and Gail can do a cartwheel at the end of the number. It was hilarious.
Can you talk to me a little bit about Vivian Vance?
Yeah, Vivian. When I grew up with her around a lot, my mother and Viv were really good friends in real life. They really were good friends, like sisters, good friends, like, tell each other exactly what's what, good friends. And they adored one another. Vivian was one of the funniest people on the planet, truly, truly funny. And when she'd get together with my mother, it was lovely. And because she kind of raised me as a kid, she was around a lot. When she was a guest star on the Here's Lucy show, which was about once a year, she would always check in with me and say, how you doing? How you doing in school? What are you doing? And she had come, she knew either she'd been there or she knew about the plays that I had done at my high school. And then she would say, what do you do on your hiatus? Where do you go? What work are you doing? And I'd say, oh, we went to Mexico, or we went to Hawaii. Or she said, what are you saying? What are you going to waste the rest of your life on a television series and get typecast as this Kim Carter person? You got to get back to theater, Lucy. Got to get back to theater. You should be out there auditioning. And Oh, it never even occurred to me that that was a problem, especially coming from a woman who starred in this magnificent, who made a wonderful career on a television show. And then I went, oh, duh. What is she telling me? She's saying typecast. She said she was typecast as Ethel Mertz for the rest of her life. Try going back to the theater and doing Medea. It's people don't really buy into that. She didn't want that to happen to me. So she's really responsible for my deciding to start auditioning for the theater on my summer vacations. When I had about, 4 weeks off in the summer, I would go do a play. And that's, I think, what transitioned me very gently into First National Tour of Seesaw. And after that, I was off, and I never went to college. I just kept working in the theater, and that's because of Viv.
Did she get to see you on stage several times?
She did.
Oh,
She sure did. And my big first thing was Seesaw, the First National Tour of Seesaw, playing Giddle Mosca in Seesaw. And we opened in Hartford, Connecticut, and I finished the show. Curtain came down. I was standing, finishing that last finale number. Curtain came down. My heart was just like this. I got through the show, and backstage I heard, and I went and there was Vivian standing in the wings.
God.
She lived in Stamford at the time, Stamford, Connecticut, and she read that I was coming in with this show. She didn't tell me. She was there, and she made sure she was backstage by the end of the number, and she was applauding me at the end of the number. I'll never forget that.
That's awesome.
She didn't live long enough to see me open in They're Playing Our Song, but she knew that I got the part.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love her. I loved, well, of course, the I Love Lucy shows, but all of the other Lucy shows that followed. Viv stayed on in the Lucy show for a while, I believe, and then she would always guest star or something, and it was always one of my favorite moments to watch, because you kind of believed that they actually were friends. I could tell, and it was just, it's beautiful, and she's just wonderful to watch.
Yeah.
Carol Cook.
Thank God we still have Carol Cook with us. Please, God, leave her here as long as possible. Again, one of the nicest, craziest, maybe not nice in the same way, who's never said a bad word about anything. But when she wants to say something about somebody, at least make it funny. One of my favorite people ever. And I think without her memory, really, I wouldn't have had half the documentary, the Lucy Desi, a whole movie documentary that we did and won an Emmy for. It's largely because of people like Carol being willing to just spill their guts to me, trusting me enough to do that. And other friends that you may not know, Marcella Rabwin, people like that, who knew where the bodies were buried, knew my parents well enough, went through the worst of times with them and some of the best of times. And I really had to depend on them to be honest with me and trust me to not, make a tribute piece or a trash piece, but to walk this very narrow line to find out who these guys were, And Carol is truly hilarious and very talented. All the years that she toured, she was also a theater person, so I idolized her because she was out there doing what I wanted to do. She'd do a little guest star on our show from time to time, but that was just in between some, national tour she was on of Hello Dolly or Mame or whatever. So she was a mentor too, in that way.
I noticed that when I binged the entire series at one time, she does your mom's vocals a couple of times.
She sang for my mother. I think my mother did one or two of her own, and then she just said, I can't do this anymore. My mother spent an awful lot of years screaming in a very odd, high-pitched voice as Lucy Ricardo. And years ago at the studios in the 30s and 40s, they told her she should lower her voice so that it would be more dramatic. And they told her to go out in in a convertible at 80 miles an hour and scream into the wind, and that would develop her chords in a way that would be attractive. Well, it did. And it doesn't work so well for singing.
Yeah.
So, she did okay in Wildcat. She sang her own stuff, and I thought she did pretty good. But on the show, Carol Cook came in a lot. And Carol and I would do the pre-records, that we had to lip sync to, because you couldn't do it live because of 3 cameras and stuff. Yeah. But so that was fun to sing with her all that time.
I just, when you're watching it and you can hear Carol's voice, I'm like, oh, but it worked. It was a.
Yeah, they both had kind of a throaty.
It really was. And I liked your mom's voice when she did the stuff she did. I do. I buy the whole package all the time.
It was just one less thing for her to worry about, I think,
That's again, so that series, just thank you for that. I loved and continue to. Odd storylines at times. I mean, you were a dancing pickle, and I was trying to understand that, but you do what you got to do. And
that was fun. Are you kidding? When they tell you you're going to get to be in a sponge pickle suit this week and do a dance, listen, you should. It's really funny because that was one of the first shows my mother did after her broken leg healed. So for her even to do that dance, that was like the first thing she was tasked with doing physically after she got up out of the wheelchair. So that was a kind of a big deal. And I laugh at that because she did pretty well. And now if I had to do what I did in that number, that thing where you squat all the way down and then you walk forward.
Yep. Oh.
I don't think I'd ever be able to do that again.
Yeah, but your mom, I remember your mom, she had the cast on the foot for a long time on the series.
Yeah, she had to, or we'd have to shut down for half a year.
She wasn't going to do that. I know that, right? So
no. One of the worst possible things that happened was when we were up in Aspen and this happened, she was devastated because she said, think of all the people that I just put out of work.
Yeah.
That was the first thought of hers. And everybody said, we're going to write this into the show. Don't worry about it. And we did.
Was that was that before Maine? Because I remember that.
They had to postpone Maine for, I forget how long, maybe a year, half a year, something like that, for her to recoup. Because not only did she break her leg, but it's the way she broke it, because she had been using a cortisone medication on her hand for years to stop some itching. Some doctor had given her this cortisone constantly. And it wasn't even a lot, but she'd used it constantly. And it turns out that her bones became so brittle from having used cortisone for so long that she could have turned around in the kitchen and hit her knee on a cabinet and shattered her whole leg like stepping on a potato chip.
Oh, wow.
So it actually was a magnificent gift that she broke her leg when she did, because when they went in to fix it, they found this tissue was all destroyed and that the bones were destroyed. And they said, you are so lucky you got in here today, because now we can put you on a regime of tiger's milk and, calcium and blah, blah, blah. You have to build your bones back. So that's what it took longer, because she didn't just have to heal. They had to regrow bone all through her body for her to be able to get up and dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, then she goes on then to do stuff in Maine that I was like, she had a broken leg just like,
right.
Trooper.
I agree.
Hey, you just did a Will and Grace as they ended their thing. I thought it was charming, and was it a lot of fun?
It was fun. It was really sweet. They had to come to us to get permission to do it because of the images and likenesses. And in the process, he said, my last ask is, would you be interested in doing a tiny little cameo on the show in some capacity? And I went, well, that could be fun. I love the show. I love those people. And then when he told me which one it was, I went, oh, hello. That's perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Done. In, out. Goodbye. Yeah.
It was charming to see. And I've seen you've done some interviews about afterwards on, I've seen some clips on that.
Yeah.
On doing it. It was so fun to watch. It's like when you see all the people you just love to watch playing together, doing something like that and recreating an iconic.
Well, they did it with such love. They really did. I mean, they messed with it and made it funny in the only way that Will and Grace could. You know, Karen had to have a martini glass in her hand, even when she was Fred, even when she was Ethel, even when she was Goofy, you know, she was going to have that martini glass. And I accepted that 100% because I knew what this was. It was a beautiful tribute their way, and I was honored. They would have been honored, and my mother would have laughed hysterically.
Wow, that's great. I love it. Let's real quick tell me about the mask project that you were when all COVID started. You had done something wonderful.
Well, I was a small part of a larger, you know,
But you were the
machine.
voice. You were a voice of it, and I did because so that's how we knew. So
I guess I became the voice. It all started with a phone call from a doctor that I adore at Eisenhower, Rick Loftus, who just kind of begged, did you know anybody who could help us? We're dying over here. I mean, no pun intended. The doctors we don't have enough PPE. We don't have enough protective stuff. We need masks. How can we get more masks? What can you do? There's a girl I know that's sitting in there sewing, but she can't go fast enough. And I said, okay, let me see. I don't know. And I made one phone call to Jim Lapidus, who is a costumer here in Palm Springs and works at Coyote Stage and all the other theater companies and worked in Hollywood for years. And he's phenomenal and funny. And he's got, you know, underlying health issues too. And he's terrified he's going to get sick from this. But he goes, oh, I don't know if I can go out there and shop. And there aren't any shops. They're all closed. But let me make a call. And he called somebody. And he had, you know, the guy from CV Rep involved. And then pretty soon this wonderful man, our friend John Monahan, who owns the 500 building, decided he would jump in and help and turned his whole art gallery on the first floor into a mask making factory and a gown. Then we switched over, forget the masks. We were making masks so fast, we could blink and make 1,000 masks. We started making gowns that were disposable that we could send to the thing. And then we got 400 volunteers and we would cut the materials, we'd send them to the volunteers and the volunteers would make, I mean, astounding. And really all I did was connect these marvelous people together. And then they were so busy they couldn't do interviews, you know, on the local television show to talk about it or say what the website was to have people come and help us. So that became me, and I was happy to do that. But I can't take credit for the whole thing because it would never have happened without all those people saying yes.
well, my point is that you were integral to this.
Well, thank you.
That happened.
Well, you know, it's what we do. We got to do what we can do. And
Yeah.
we feel so helpless we can't really do anything, but that I could do. So I thought, I'll do this. I can do that.
So probably one of your greatest roles ever is a mother and grandmother. How are things going with the family?
Oh, man. It's rough because right on the cusp of having these children, they were, you know, not quite a year old yet when this all happened. And my daughter and her son and my grandson were living in Los Angeles, which was, you know, a schlep, but I could see them if I planned. And they had to get out of LA. They had no childcare because of COVID. It couldn't rely on anybody anymore. They worked from home. And then the riots in LA were all crazy because of the, you know, George Floyd stuff. And so they came down here and they stayed with us for quite a while and then eventually rented a house around the corner. And so I have been grandma to little JD, my grandson, through this whole thing and get to see him virtually every day, babysitting for 2-3 hours. And to watch your grandson develop like that. I didn't even get a chance to watch my kids develop like that.
Right.
You know, I was busy and I had help, but every day I can see what he's learning, what he can do, what he's changed his opinion. It's feeding him and just the conversations we have, even though he doesn't really have words yet, you know. But my son Joe, who had a baby girl with his lovely lady Krista, live in Connecticut, way far away up in the northern Connecticut. And I only saw that baby the first month she was born. And we've been, you know, we talk and we do FaceTime, but it's awful. Larry, my husband, hasn't even had a chance to see her in person yet at all. And so, but they're coming here. They're getting into a car and traveling across country in about 3 weeks to spend a month with us here because they can't take it anymore. They want us to see the baby. And so they're putting their, you know, selves in a car, an SUV, which they'll rent, is as big as a van or something. And can you imagine taking this little baby, a year-old baby, in the back of a car for 9-hour drive? I don't know. But It'll be great to have them here for a while and have the two kids together, which will be just amazing.
Post pictures, please, because
I will. Trust me.
Posts are so wonderful, from your family shots to when you have parties over there. It's just all joyous for me to look and see people having so much fun together. And then you were doing the hula recently on a video. I loved that. I loved it.
It was the end of the day. We took a house in La Jolla with Sue Cameron, my dear friend, and Bradley James, and the only two, we call them quarantinos, the quarantinos that we know have quarantinoed themselves vigilantly, that we went in and got this, sort of an Airbnb situation down there. And that was my birthday night, and it was after dinner, and we were putting Hawaiian music on because we all love Hawaii, and this song came on that I used to do the hula to on the Here's Lucy show. And I had learned it when I was learning my hula for that show. And I don't know what possessed me, but I just started dancing, and she caught it on film. And then she said, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to post it." And I saw it and I said, "I'm posting it. I love this. I think this is great." I mean, with the stupid jeans and the shirt, I look, like I don't know what.
Was that just recall? You hadn't really rehearsed that or anything?
Oh, no. We were just screwing around.
Well, you had all the moves. You had all the moves. It was
like, to me, it's like bad translation. I don't know whether, with the hooky with the papa.
It was wonderful. People, you have to see it. If you haven't, I'll repost it if I can find it. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about as we close, and I just thank you so much already. But this leads us, hopefully we'll have another one some other time. But because of you, I became much more politically aware of things back in 2016. I enjoyed reading your stuff, and you had convinced me to start watching like Rachel Maddow, and my husband had been trying to get me to listen to her for years, and I didn't. I said, well, if Lucie has asked people to listen to, so I started to, and it really, invigorated. And we've been through a rough time, obviously. But I wanted to first thank you for that, because it got me to be more aware myself.
Thanks.
I wanted to ask, did you get to watch Michelle Obama last night?
I sure did.
What did you? Can I?
I cried.
Yeah.
I cry when I hear either one of them speak, because we are so hungry for intelligent leadership. We are so hungry for honest talk and compassion. And just the fact that she didn't even diss this poor soul who finds himself running the country right now, this poor, messed up human being who clearly is just a mess. And somehow this great country of ours tripped and fell into this debacle. It has to be happening for a reason, because I believe that, and the rest of my life, that we don't know what anything is for, but it's for something. So we will get through it. But she's such a class act, Michelle, and the way she spoke to this, and the way she spoke to what we must do going forward, I believe was also the words that her husband would have used. Barack, I'm sure, read that speech and may have given her a few clues about I don't know, because they're good together. She does the same for him. It was a cold drink of water in a very dry desert, and it made me cry. It really did. I'm terrified for the planet, and I hope this is just a stage we're going through, and truly not the end of life here as we know it, because things aren't going well. And unless everybody pulls together and shows up, we cannot afford any apathy this time. People who believe this has all gone nuts, and we really have to get back to humanity and democracy and the Constitution, and we can't be run by thugs. Then we have to get out and vote. And what she said about get your hazmat suit on, I said that to all my friends last week. I said, I don't care what I have to do. And I'm the carefulest COVID person you know. But I will dress in whatever I have to, and I will stand for as long as I have to, and I will drive people to wherever they got to go. Call me, find me, I'm there, because this has got to change.
Yeah. it was just it was very, very moving, and I knew you were probably watching because I knew I was going to be talking to you, and I just wanted to get your reaction on that too. It
Yeah.
was, again, tears. It was.
I also have to say I kind of love the idea of the convention just being virtual like this. You know, it was so well produced, and I never believed all those drunken people, you know, at the convention waving their flags anyway. What's all that about? That's crazy. That's just a lot of hoo-ha. That doesn't mean a damn thing.
So things are being done differently, and like you said, we're still getting the same impact, if not maybe even more, because you know we were really able to.
The money they save on confetti alone, you know, they could put towards a few more ads.
That's awesome. Hey, how's Larry doing?
He's doing great. I always tell people he's writing his memoir, and now he's in the editing process of it. But it's an excruciatingly long, cathartic process that he's enjoying. But it takes the time that it takes to get it right, and he thinks nobody's going to want to read this except my family, but I don't care. Yeah. But it is his work. His amazing story of an actor, a person growing up in the kind of life he had and becoming an actor in this business and getting married and having kids and all that goes with that. It's just a person's story, and it's really told well.
Well, I enjoy watching him. He could read the phone book to me.
Yes, I agree.
You know,
does anyone even read the phone book?
He's anything coming up with the two of you together at all? Are you guys doing anything? Just
no, we're planning on having dinner together again.
That's good.
But we watched a lot of Outlander and The Blacklist, and we do a lot of that together. Okay. No, he's working on that, and I generally would be out doing my concerts. We haven't had to, you know, he and I work together on a lot of levels. When I'm giving notes to somebody on a movie or whatever, I always run them by Larry because he's real smart with that. And but no, we're not acting. He does his thing now, and I do mine.
That's good. I know you guys have been able to work together throughout your careers.
Yeah, a lot.
That's always a fun thing. Mm-hmm. Well, please say hello to him. And we're going to wrap up right now. Everyone, thanks for listening. If you've joined in, if you haven't, you've missed something great. I'm going to repost this. And then Lucie, stay with me, and we're going to hang out for just a few more seconds.
Okay.
So thank you all again for listening to Lucie Arnaz, who is American treasure as far as I'm concerned. You really are. Thank you for all you do for the community, and please keep it going. Okay.
It's my pleasure to be here.
I love you so much.
Stay safe, everybody.
See you guys.
Wear your masks.